Just ahead on American Black Journal, we're celebrating diversity in music on today's show. We're going to hear how the Sphinx Organization is opening doors for young classical musicians of color. Plus, we'll take a close look at the historic Harp and Vocal program at Cass Technical High School. Don't go away. American Black Journal starts now.
Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support also provided by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Etzel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
The DTE Foundation proudly supports 50 years of American Black Journal in covering African American history, culture, and politics. The DTE Foundation and American Black Journal, partners in presenting African American perspectives about our communities and in our world.
Also brought to you by Ally, Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. Young Black and Latinx classical string players are going to compete in the 23rd annual Sphinx competition in early February. The Detroit-based Sphinx Organization uses the power of diversity in the arts to change lives. Kamyron Williams is an intern at Sphinx and a really talented cellist. I'm really pleased to have him here today for a special performance. Fantastic. Joining me now from the Sphinx Organization is Laura McNary. She is the manager of institutional partnerships.
Hi.
Welcome back to the show, right?
Thank you.
We do this every
us.
year.
Yes.
So 23 years
Yes.
of the Sphinx competition. That's a long time.
Yes, we are very excited to be back and be back at the DSO and in the Detroit community, and really just offering an opportunity to create diverse audiences and create opportunities for the competitors. So it's an exciting time.
So I know that we do this show each year and we talk about the importance of diversity in music and classical music in particular. But I always think it's worth reminding people that the diversity we see in classical music today owes a lot of what it is to Sphinx and this competition. And the 23 years you guys have really been encouraging young people of color to do this.
Yes, so it was founded, like you said, 23 years ago by Aaron Dworkin, and at the time he didn't see himself in his colleagues on stage and in the music schools. And over the past 23 years, we've been able to increase the number of Black and Latinx classical musicians across the world's orchestra stages by about 4 or 5%.
Yeah.
It's not a very large increase, but it is a very substantial increase.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just there was almost nothing before. I mean, and it's hard to imagine that just 23 years ago, you could go to a symphony concert and see nobody of color on stage in most major cities, and that now you're starting to see people who are doing it.
Yes, and we're starting to see a buy-in from the nation's major orchestras. Running currently with the Sphinx competition is Sphinx Connect, which is the epicenter of arts, and we really work to tackle the issues of diversity, inclusion, and equity in the arts. This year, I believe we'll be welcoming over 800 musicians, arts leaders, arts organizations, arts administrators, and fellows to Detroit, to really tackle that issue head on and create opportunities for musicians of color.
Yeah, greater diversity, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're now joined by Kamyron. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
That was a beautiful piece. Tell us about the piece that you played first.
It was the prelude from the second cello suite by Bach in D minor.
I could tell it was Bach. I didn't know quite which one it was. I have to say that the cello is probably my favorite instrument in the orchestra, partially because I was a former tuba player, and it's kind of the bottom, right? The same, but it has such a beautiful voice across such a range. I mean, people think of the bottom and the way that it can sort of hold up that end of music, but it has such sweet tones at the top as well, and I've always really been attracted to that. Talk to me about how you came to want to play the cello.
So for me, it kind of started in the public school system back in Florida. I had a friend who was a year older than me. He was a neighborhood friend. He was already in orchestra, and he was like, "Hey man, like, if you join orchestra, we have class together." And I was like,
"Okay,
right, let's do it." So fast forward, I'm in orchestra, and I think it's like the first or second day, and the orchestra director's trying to like choose, like, all right, who should do this? And the orchestra director looks at me, Sandy Neal, and "You're a big kid." I was a lot bigger back then. "I think you should play the cello." And I was like, "Okay, sure." So kind of went with it, and I mean, I just immediately, I guess, fell in love with it. And just, natural talent took me so far, and I was very fortunate to have a very good middle school director who introduced me to the Performing Arts High School, and I was able to go to Performing Arts High School, Blake High School in Tampa, Florida, and then my orchestra director there, Jason Gerald, opened up another door for me. I was able to study with a cello professor at Stetson University, David Biella, and then one thing just led to another, and then ended up in the Midwest, in Indiana. Then after Indiana, ended up in Michigan.
So tell me how you felt as an African American male playing the cello in the orchestra. It's not the thing that you see a lot of other African American men doing. But were there other Were there other kids of color involved that way? And did you feel as though there were barriers, I guess, to your success there?
I would say when I first started, it was definitely noticeable that I was the only person of color in the orchestra.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it deterred me or anything. I would say it was more of like a motivator and also a way of like, oh, like I should really lead by example and show that like I'm just like everyone else. And when I first started, it was just having fun, enjoying and playing music, and that's what it was all about. So that's how it was for me.
What about the university level?
University level?
Was it more diverse or less diverse?
Becoming more diverse.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, Kamyron's a great example of exactly what you guys are working on. But you've got so many people now, I think you can hold up as great examples.
Yes. Over the past 23 years, we've been able to establish a network of over 800 Black and Latinx musicians and really show the world stage that the talent is there. You just have to pay attention to people like Kamyron who are in these programs and competing at a very high level, but are oftentimes overlooked.
Yeah.
So
Kamyron, I want to talk to you about career, because I think that's one of the things that anybody who's involved in arts has to kind of think about. The business is changing. There are fewer opportunities for everybody than there used to be. But when you think about your career and opportunities, what do you see?
Right. For me, I mean, obviously cello will definitely be the forefront, but I definitely see it in a way of being able to do multiple roles. In a way for me that I kind of call that kind of being like a 360 musician, being able to play, being able to curate things, and also be able to work in an administrative capacity and things like that. So being able to wear multiple hats is kind of the way I'm going, and I think that's, at least for me, that's kind of how I see it being the most rewarding in a way. Yeah.
And is that opportunity presenting itself through Sphinx or through
Yeah,
other
I mean,
things?
as soon as I moved to Michigan in 2016, that's when I kind of got involved with Sphinx. I had a friend, and he was like, hey, I think you should really try and get involved in some type of capacity. So I was like, all right, great.
Yeah.
And I worked as a liaison for the Sphinx Connect, and worked as a liaison. I was like, okay, like kind of getting my feet. And within admin, I was like, all right, I can kind of dabble in this. And then things led to another. I was able to use some of the other artistic resources like the National Audition Alliance to Support Intensive. I've participated in the SOPA auditions. Those have opened up plenty of doors artistically. And then now working in an administrative role as working audience development for the finalist concert.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, congratulations on 23 years.
Thank
It's such
you.
a big deal. And I'm such a big fan of Aaron's. I always was. So.
yes, he'll actually be our guest artist this year.
Oh, very good.
Doing the Detroit premiere of his spoken word multimedia work, American Rhapsody. So we're very, very excited.
That's very cool. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
And you can go to dptv.org/Sphinx to see live stream coverage of the conference and the finals concert on February 6th through the 8th. Coming up, the legendary Harp program at Cass Tech. But first, here's a 1996 Detroit Black Journal conversation with Dr. Leslie B. Dunner when he was assistant conductor at the Detroit Symphony Orchestra.
Growing up in what many people would have considered somewhat impoverished conditions, the height of the Black power consciousness struggle / movement.
Right.
Leslie B. Dunner decides he wants to have a life and a career in classical music. Did that put you at odds with your peers?
Yes and no. I was very much involved in African dance during this period. And so that, I guess, made it a little bit easier for me to be involved in classical music. The difficulty was an internal struggle in that instance, because I didn't think it was possible to do both. Now, my struggle in school came because I was involved in classical music, and I wanted also to become involved in jazz. And the school authorities, the administration, wouldn't allow that. They felt that classical musicians should be schooled only in classical, and jazz musicians should be schooled only in jazz. And so I felt that I was never able to make a good crossover in my youth. And I feel still that I regret that had not happened. I would have liked to have become involved.
In a more popular cultural context, many Black people would look not just white people, but many black people would look at Leslie Dunn or someone like Leslie Dunn and say, he doesn't fit the typical framework. You know, if the kid's not going to play basketball, if the kid's not going to play football, if the kid's not going to be a rap star or rhythm and blues or something like that, certainly they're not going to gravitate toward classical music. Did you ever meet with those kinds of pronouncements from people?
Nothing overt, but I had a good circle of friends, and they would covertly ask me continually, as a matter of fact, things are always a struggle for you. How long are you going to continue to struggle to try to make this work before you decide it's just not worth it?
And the struggle was?
To become accepted and involved in the classical music lifestyle.
And this is by the white mainstream?
Well, this is by whites and blacks, as you were saying, because they saw, I guess they saw that I was facing racial barriers that I just didn't recognize. I just saw them as barriers that had to be overcome. And so they would constantly hint at the fact that maybe I shouldn't be doing this because it wasn't working. And I didn't see it that way. I just felt that I should continue. Part of my upbringing was if one wants to do something, one strives to do it. I wasn't taught that one strives to do it until you get tired. I was just taught that one strives to do it. And I interpreted that to mean until one succeeds.
The Harp program at Detroit's Cass Technical High School has been around for more than 90 years. In fact, it is the oldest program of its kind in any public school. Plus, Cass Tech is the only school in Detroit with a harp and vocal ensemble. Our colleagues at Detroit Performs visited the school to see how students are learning to play this beautiful stringed instrument.
The words that come to mind when I hear the word harp are beautiful, difficult, and underappreciated.
It's something that becomes a passion that you just don't want to release. I began playing the harp in my 9th grade year at Cass Technical High School. It's beautiful to look at. I think it was probably more the aesthetic of the instrument than anything else. So I said, I'll try this. Cass has the oldest established harp program in a public school, which began in 1925.
We've been around for over 90 years, first starting with Velma Froud, Patricia Terry Ross, and now currently Miss Lydia Kleber.
Wanting to come back was the fulfillment of my desire to continue to be a part of the program and to see it go on after Patricia Terry Ross retired. And it was a great opportunity to be able to work with older students and do more sophisticated things musically and just come home, really. Put your thumb on.
Harp Ensemble is the class where everybody plays the harp, and then Harp and Vocal it's a combination of harp and choir at the same time.
And 1, 2.
I came into this class and I thought it was really hard, like really, really hard, because I've never been in a music class. I didn't know how to read notes, but it got better after a while.
In Detroit, unfortunately, we have suffered significantly in the fine arts area in our school system. And so when students arrive in my classroom, for the most part, they don't know anything about music. So we start from the very beginning.
Stretch. Yep. Stretch and slide down a little bit.
It's a practical skill. They learn to solve problems in real time. They learn to work collaboratively in addition to being able to apply principles of math They make connections to literature through song.
They say that the harp is the hardest instrument in the world. So I feel like you can learn a lot of things from the harp that you can use in life, even if you're not going to pursue music in college or in the future.
I think it prepares me for everyday life in the way of not giving up on things, because it's really easy to give up on an instrument like the harp because it's hard. It's teaching me to accept challenges and use it as an exercise to better myself as a person.
Look, because that time, we didn't have any problem with what chord to play.
When I see that students can learn how to figure something out, that is super exciting for me, because they have learned patience, how to break something down into parts that you can then put together again and create a whole, and then actually give life to it, to create an emotional aspect of it, and then share it with other people.
I've never sang with a harp before Harp and Vocal, which is very interesting. Watching the harpist play as we sing, it's another form of expression. When we crescendo, they crescendo, and they crescendo, and it's very expressive, and it's very essential in conveying the message and sharing the music with the audience.
I find music that is in our library typically that has worthiness, that they can't dig some meaning out of.
Today we're working on 2 songs, one called Steal Away and then one called Going Home, which they're both essentially about having peace with yourself and being ready to go to heaven.
It's a tribute to one of the many songs that slaves used to sing.
3 and 4. Same freedom for everybody. And I'm just going home.
As a Black singer, it's really important to know the history of the songs. It really helps to convey the message to the audience, to have people relate to it.
It means to me that we're doing something good. We're giving people something that maybe they didn't know they needed.
I've heard Miss Cleaver play the harp, and it's inspired me to keep going with what I want to do, and because she's so passionate about it, and her passion has driven her to be great, that it inspires me to be great in what I want to do.
It's incredible. I always I play it and I'm like, it's nothing compared to her. She can play it right at that instinct, and it's beautiful.
It's actually very angelic to hear the sound of the harp, especially the way she plays it with such passion. It only encourages us to sing the same way with a lot of passion.
Much better. So now,
I'm extremely proud of my students. I am extremely fortunate to work with young people who get what it means to be responsible and to grow. And they do it through music.
After I leave high school, I might go to college to play the harp. And I want to find a way to incorporate harp into mainstream music, because you don't really see too many harpists in mainstream. So I want to figure out a way to maybe make a new genre of music or something like that. The experiences that I've had here at Cass Tech have made me grateful for the things that I have, especially with the harp program.
We know that we'll have connections with people forever, people that we know if we need something, we can call them up in 20 years from now, and we'll know that we'll have support.
The great thing about it is that everyone who's come through the program has seen the benefits of it and the beauty of it. They can see, wow, this was really an important part of my life. And so we have that support. And it is one of the jewels of the district. It's something that is unique. And it belongs to Detroit Public Schools Community District.
That is our program for today. Go to AmericanBlackJournal.org for more information on our guests and to check out past episodes. And you can always connect with us on Facebook and on Twitter. We'll see you next time.
Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support also provided by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Etzel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
The DTE Foundation proudly supports 50 years of American Black Journal in covering African American history, culture, and politics. The DTE Foundation and American Black Journal, partners in presenting African American perspectives about our communities and in our world.
Also brought to you by Ally, Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you. Thank you.